Ever wondered how apps talk to each other? It's all thanks to something called APIs. APIs, or Application Programming Interfaces, are like the secret handshake of the digital world. They are the unsung heroes that allow our favorite apps and websites to interact, share information, and work together to create the seamless digital experiences we have grown so accustomed to. To understand APIs, let's imagine a scenario. You're at a restaurant and you're hungry. You know what you want, but you can't go into the kitchen and cook your meal, right? So you need an intermediary, someone who can take your order to the chef in the kitchen and bring your food to you. In this analogy, you are an application, the kitchen is another application, and the waiter? That's the API. The API takes requests from one app, communicates it to another, and then delivers the response back. Now, imagine if the restaurant didn't have a menu, or the menu was in a language you didn't understand. It would be pretty hard to place an order, wouldn't it? Well, that's why APIs have something called documentation. It's like a menu for the API, telling you what data is available and how to request it. And just like how you and the waiter need to speak the same language to communicate your order effectively, APIs use specific formats to ensure smooth data exchange. It's all about making sure everyone understands each other. Whether it's a weather app pulling data from a weather forecasting service, a social media app fetching your latest posts, or an e-commerce site updating your shopping cart, APIs are at the heart of it all. But just like a confusing menu or a waiter who messes up your order can ruin your dining experience, a poorly designed API can cause all sorts of problems. That's why it's essential for developers to design APIs that are clear, efficient, and reliable. So now that you are intrigued about APIs, let's dive into how they work. Imagine you're at a restaurant and you're ready to place an order. Now think about the process that takes place. You peruse the menu, decide what you want, and then tell the waiter your order. The waiter then takes your order to the kitchen where your meal is prepared. Once it's ready, the waiter brings your food back to you. Let's draw a parallel to the world of APIs. In this scenario, you are the user, the waiter is the API, and the kitchen is the server where the data resides. You, as the user, make a request. This could be anything from retrieving a specific piece of data to executing a particular function. This request is like your order at the restaurant. The API, acting as the waiter, carries your request to the server. Just as the kitchen prepares your meal, the server processes your request. It locates the data or runs the function you asked for. Once the server has fulfilled your request, the API comes back into play. The API, again behaving like the waiter, then brings the result back from the server. This could be the data you requested or the outcome of the function you asked to run. It delivers this result to you just like the waiter brings your food to your table. But what if you don't speak the same language as the waiter? Or what if the waiter doesn't understand your order? Well, that's where API documentation comes into play, but we'll get into that in the next scene. For now, remember this: APIs act as intermediaries between the user and the server. They take your requests, carry them to the server to be processed, and then deliver the results back to you. They facilitate communication and data exchange, making it possible for different pieces of software to interact and function together seamlessly. Just like a waiter, an API takes your request and brings back the data you need. Now, before you can place your order, you need to know what's on the menu, right? Just as a menu tells you what dishes a restaurant offers and how to order them, API documentation serves as the guide to an API. It's the comprehensive manual that tells you what data is available and how to request it. Think of it as the restaurant's menu. You wouldn't know what to order or how to express your preferences without it. Similarly, without a well-written API documentation, developers might not know what data they can request or how to send those requests. The documentation typically provides a list of all the endpoints an API has. These endpoints are like the dishes on a menu. They are the specific data points that you can request. Each endpoint usually comes with a description of what data it will return, what parameters it requires, and what methods it supports. A method, in the context of APIs, is like the way you want your food prepared. For instance, the get method is like asking the waiter to bring you the dish. The post method, on the other hand, is like telling the waiter what ingredients you want in your custom salad. But wait, it doesn't stop there. The API documentation should also provide examples of how to use these endpoints. These examples are like the pictures on a menu that show you what the dish should look like. They give you a clear idea of what to expect when you make a specific request. And just like a good menu caters to all dietary needs, a great API documentation caters to developers of all skill levels. It should be clear enough for a beginner to understand and detailed enough for an experienced developer to find what they need. So, next time you're navigating through an API, remember to check its documentation. It's your key to understanding what's on offer and how to place your order. Without it, you'll be like a customer in a restaurant with no menu. API documentation, it's your menu to the world of data you can order. You've got your menu, your waiter is ready, but how do you make sure they understand your order? That's where API communication formats come into play. They are like a common language that ensures the waiter, or the API, understands your order or the request. Think of it this way. When you're at a restaurant and you order a burger, you don't just say burger. You specify how you want it cooked, what toppings you want, and maybe even the side dish you'd like. This is like the specific format in which you communicate your request to the waiter. Similarly, APIs use specific formats to communicate. This ensures the smooth exchange of data between applications. These formats are essentially a set of rules that the sending and receiving applications agree to follow. One of the most common formats is JSON, which stands for JavaScript Object Notation. It's a lightweight format that's easy to read and write, and it's used by many APIs to structure data. JSON looks a bit like a shopping list, with items and their values. For example, if you were ordering a burger via an API, your JSON might look something like this. You'd specify burger as your item, medium as your cook preference, lettuce, tomato, onion as your toppings, and fries as your side dish. Another popular format is XML, or Extensible Markup Language. It's a bit more complex than JSON, but it's also very flexible and can handle data that's a bit more complicated. So, when you're working with APIs, you'll need to know what communication format the API uses. This information is usually provided in the API documentation, just like a restaurant might tell you how to order on their menu. In the end, the communication format is a crucial part of making sure your order is understood by the waiter. Whether you're using JSON, XML, or another format, it's all about ensuring that your request is communicated in a way that the API can understand and respond to correctly. API communication formats, the language that ensures your order is understood. So, you've placed your order, but what if the waiter gets it wrong, or the menu was confusing? Now, imagine you're in a restaurant, but this time, the menu is unclear, the waiter seems confused, and you're not getting what you ordered. Frustrating, isn't it? Well, the same can happen in the world of technology with poorly designed APIs. Just as the menu is the restaurant's interface to its kitchen, an API is an application's interface to its data and services. If it's well designed, it can be incredibly powerful, enabling developers to create applications that leverage the power of the web. But if it's badly designed, it can lead to confusion, mistakes, and wasted time, much like our dining experience. So, what does a well-designed API look like? For starters, it's easy to understand. It should be clear what data and services are available and how to request them. This is like having a well-written menu where you know exactly what you're ordering. Next, a good API is reliable and consistent. If you send the same request multiple times, you should get the same response each time. Just like how a good waiter will bring you exactly what you've ordered every time. Finally, a good API is flexible and scalable. It should be able to handle a wide range of requests and adjust to increasing demand, much like a restaurant that can cater to a small family dinner or a large party. Now, you might be thinking, why does this matter to me? Well, even if you're not a developer, well-designed APIs impact your digital life. They power the apps you use every day, from checking the weather to posting on social media. Without them, these apps would be disconnected islands, unable to share data and work together. So next time you're scrolling through your favorite app, remember the secret handshake happening behind the scenes. Well-designed APIs make for a smooth dining experience. Or in our case, a smooth data exchange.